So, hello and welcome to episode 1 of my occasional series of fishing videos. I don't have a name for it or anything, it's just the tattooed angler. That's me because I have quite a lot of tattoos and I like angling. There you go. Today I'm fishing on the River Almond at the road bridge just up from the old brig at Cramond Village. I fish here quite a lot. This will be my third season on the river. The first season I didn't do very well. Last year I had a very good year, and this year has started out quite well. But as we all know, if you live in Scotland, the weather has been very changeable. It started off very warm and pleasant and then turned cold, so the fishing was great for a bit and then it turned off. This video is a couple of weeks old simply because I was having issues with technology, but this was taken on March the 22nd, I think, so about 3 weeks ago. So I'm fishing, as I say, just under the road bridge here, and I didn't actually catch anything here. I'm just putting this in so you can see may not catch, and you'll understand if you go fishing just how frustrating it is when there's fish rising all around you and you're putting your fly right on their nose and they're just not interested. I did actually catch a fish on the other side of the bridge a few minutes after this, but unfortunately I had a technical issue and my camera deleted the footage, so you'll just have to take my word for it. So again, this is the River Almond. Oops, bad cast. Shake of the head. A very reasonably priced river, £38 for a season ticket, which covers salmon, sea trout and brown trout, all of which can be caught in the river. And it's one of the best trout rivers I've ever fished when it's on. It's on. You know, I've caught over a dozen fish in a couple of hours, but then other days like today it can be slow and it can be frustrating and difficult, especially I don't know if you can see, the water's only about 18 inches deep here. It's crystal clear, there's food everywhere, so it's really just a lottery if you catch a fish or not. So there you go. This is the River Almond. I'll be doing quite a lot of fishing on this river, but I will mix it up. I mean, I live within casting distance of the River Esk at Musselburgh, the Water of Leith, the estuary in the Firth of Forth, and the Union Canal. So I will be mixing it up. I'll be doing some sea fishing, some coarse fishing, some fly fishing here, and I'll be going across the west coast where I'm from soon to visit some of my favourite hill lochs. So this is about 100 yards or so further up. I don't often fish this part of the river because it's very silty underfoot and you can't really wade out very far and you don't have much of a back cast. But I saw a couple of fish rising and I know there are a couple of big fish in here, so I thought it was worth just giving it a few casts. This is one of the most difficult rivers to fish I think I've ever fished. Physically, there's not very much bank fishing you can do, not with the fly rod anyway. Oh, caught one. There you go. Apologies for the poor camera angle here. I just set it wrong. I've just got it sitting on my head, so on a little strap, kind of GoPro mount thing. But this wasn't a bad size fish. I think you get a quick glimpse of it in the net. It was around about a pound or so, which is not a bad fish for the river, at this part of the river. There are fish in this stretch here that have been caught up to about £3, so there are some good size fish in here. I've caught fish further up in the river where we'll go later on, up to £3, maybe a little more. I'm pretty sure I had one using my dodgy scales around about £4 last year. So this is further up the river. I decided just to go as far up as I could and work back because we don't get much daylight at this time of year, so I didn't want to spend all my time at the bottom of the river and then get to the top end of the beat 3 to discover I had to turn and come home again. We've all made that mistake, I'm sure. But this is quite typical of the river. As you can see to the bottom left corner, there's some quite fast water, quite shallow, gravelly fast water, but across the opposite bank it's almost dead. It's like a canal. And a lot of the rivers like that. There are some very deep channels right next to some very, very fast water, and it makes it quite a difficult river to fish. That caught another one. There you go. Because trying to get an accurate presentation of your fly and a more natural presentation can be really, really difficult, because you can find you've got 2 or 3 currents all at the same time within just 20 feet of water, and it can be a challenge. So you have to just try and work out each pool as you go along. And the fish here are used to dog walkers and things, so they're not easily spooked, so they will allow the occasional sloppy cast, which is good because I am a very sloppy caster sometimes. So just untangle it from the gills and pop, in we go. And I saw a fish rise just in front of me here, and I'm talking about sloppy casts. Look at this. Good lord, what a mess. I'm surprised I didn't spook every fish for miles. But, caught it, and lost it. So frustrating. I'll take another cast to it, but you know I'm not going to catch it. That fish is going to go and sulk under that bank for half an hour. So, there you go. Here I'm using, I think this is my 10-foot 4-weight. I usually take 2 rods out with me, a 7-foot and a 10-foot 4-weight, simply because some of the rivers are very, very wide, like this pool here, which is just a little bit up from where I caught one earlier, and in other places it's very overhung and narrow, so you really need to mix it up. Right, this, see, the sun's come out, not ideal, but there was a huge hatch of March Browns, and there was fish everywhere in this pool. Honestly, I lost count of how many fish were rising and taking off the surface. So I started to target fish, specific fish. You know, you would think with the fish rising and taking indiscriminately without caution it'd be easy to catch. And as I say that, I've caught one. But with so much food on the water, the fish aren't going to move more than a centimetre or so out of their lie. So unless you get your fly perfectly in front of them, you're not going to catch one, and even then it might be just behind or just in front of another fly, which they'll take preference to. So it's a bit of a lottery, when even though they're fish rising everywhere, they're not in any hurry. You know, they can take food at their leisure, so it can be quite difficult. Oh, as you'll see, I did not bad here. So we'll get this little fellow in, around about £1/2 pound, I would say. Kind of typical kind of river trout for here. They put up an incredible fight for such small fish. Throw them back to the deep. I hope you can see that there at the rocks. It's quite shallow, then suddenly it takes quite a drop down. You need to be really careful in this river. There's on more than one occasion I've almost gone in. A few people have taken a swim. So I'll just get my line back out. This is my 10-foot rod. Just to get... there, see, that. I wasn't even trying to catch a fish there. That was just pure luck. But we'll have another cast at him. See if we've spooked him or not. I won't usually do voiceovers like this, but I say I'm using new cameras and new equipment, and I'm just getting used to it, and I didn't want to chat all the way through and then discover that my microphone wasn't up to par, or the inbuilt microphone on the camera. So that fish is rising again, so he's obviously got over his fright from a moment ago. And there you go. Absolutely no caution at all. And a great fun on a little 4-weight rod. Well, a big 4-weight rod in this case. And I don't know if you saw that there, just down to the left of me. There was a fish actually swimming towards me while I was bringing this one in. And there's another fish just to the left of me. It might even be the same fish, it's moved. It's coming up and taking flies off the surface, even as I'm bringing other fish in. It's like a feeding frenzy, and they've got no inhibition at all. It's good to see so early in the year so many fish moving, and such a good hatch. But this little fellow here got tangled up in my leader, so he wasn't as big as he felt. There is a big fish in here which it's been caught a couple of times. It's a good 2.5, 3 pounds on it. Oh, missed it. Oh, try again. There we go. So we'll get him untied. Unhooked just as I got it into the net, but the line was tangled around its gill plate and its tail, so I managed to get it in safely. And again, not a bad little fish. Off he goes. No trouble at all. So as I say, I will be making live commentary, or doing live commentary. More like Wild Fisher. If you watch Wild Fisher, I think I like his format, so I'm just going to steal that and just copy it, rather than doing it this way. Oh, there's another fish. Now this is all taking place in the space of 5 minutes. Honestly, it was like catch a fish, unhook it, straighten my line out, get a cast in, 2 or 3 casts into another fish. Normally I wouldn't fish downstream like this, but it's just upstream, as I say. This little chap unhooked himself for me. Thank you very much. If you look to the left, top middle left there, you can see a branch in the water. That's where I caught the fish earlier. It's very, very silty. You can't go in there and cast upstream, it's too dangerous. And there's nature giving me a reminder that it's still Scotland and it's still March and it's started snowing. But I'm still catching fish, so I'm staying in the water. Most people with any sense would have got out the water by now and, you know, packed it in, because it was below freezing, absolutely. But when the day's as good as this, I'm not going to quit. This is like the first real day out on the water, and I was taking full advantage of it, so that's just the way it is. But only a bloody fool would continue fishing in the snow. And I continued for another, I don't know, 10-15 minutes maybe. As you'll see, things changed. Another little half pounder. Pretty typical. There are obviously like little tiddlers in the water, but you don't see too many of those. You tend to catch around this kind of size more often than not. And there, the snow has come on properly. And that fish I caught there, did you see that? It's rising again just a few minutes after being caught. Absolutely no fear whatsoever. So we'll just let this drift down. I'm using a little size 16 Greenwell's Glory. That's really the only fly I really use. Again, there we go. Welcome to Scotland. 5 minutes later, the snow has stopped, the sun's come out, and it's a beautiful spring day, and I've caught another fish. Now, I don't know if that was the fish I caught earlier. It may well have been. But it's hard to tell, you know, they're of a muchness. So, I can see there on my rod, it's my Shakespeare Agility 10-foot 4-weight. I tend to use more budget gear and tackle on this river because, especially in summer, it can be very close in. You know, the banks are difficult to fish, and I've lost a lot of gear. I've lost a lot of tackle. I've almost snapped a couple of rods. So I don't tend to use the more expensive equipment that I have. I keep that for bigger rivers. This is very much a wild river. Not like a wild river like some of the very well groomed rivers you get, you know, up north, which they have the impression of being wild rivers for the tourists, but really they've been shaped that way over hundreds of years, you know. So that was episode 1. I hope you enjoyed it and listened to me waffling on. From time to time I'll offend you with my banjo playing and my attempts at speaking Gaelic. So thanks for watching, and cheerio and rasta.